Hi, I'm Lokesh Ori, Wanderer-in-Chief at Been There Doing That, and I'm very happy to be a part of the Mussoorie Mountain Festival. The hill station of Mussoorie was founded in 1823, and the Queen of Hills will be celebrating its 200th birthday in a couple of years from now. Who discovered this hill station? Who built the first house here? Who saw the potential of this wooded patch with Mansoora bushes growing all over as a space where people could come to rest? I'm here in the Doon Valley in the foothills of Mussoorie, and I would like to tell you the story of Fredrick Young, who came to India as a 16-year-old cadet from Ireland, to be later described by the Bishop of Calcutta as the king, in fact, of the Doon. Today, Fredrick Young is all but forgotten in the valley, his story consigned to but a footnote in history. Behind me, this road, named after him, is perhaps the lone surviving memory of the man who lorded over Dehradun, Mussoorie and Landor for over 53 years. In fact, it was the Anglo-Gurkha War that brought Young to the Doon Valley. Young was aide-de-camp or assistant to Major General Sir Robert Rollo Gillespie, a much decorated officer and a colourful character. The battle was fought right here in Nalapani on the Sahasradhara road and initially proved disastrous for the British. In just the second attack on the fortress of Kalanga, British forces had lost 6 officers, including their commander Rollo Gillespie, who died in Young's arms on 31st October 1814. Eventually, the British won, but so impressed were they with the bravery of the Gurkhas that they erected a memorial for the adversary, a very rare occurrence in military history. While this obelisk in the memorial gives us the names of the British officers killed right in front, the other one for the Gurkha, in a rather embarrassed acknowledgement of the opponents at the back, declares that the Gurkha fought to the last man under their commander Balbhadra Thapa. Soon Young would become commander, judge, magistrate, collector, surveyor, all rolled into one as the political agent in Dehradun. Despite his several responsibilities, Young was not an aloof officer. He experimented with tea cultivation, studied birds, bred hounds, and walked up the slopes and was the first individual to grow these crops in the Himalayas. By early 1820s, he had built a shooting box on Camel's Back Road and also a sprawling home called Mullingar. The house was nicknamed Mullingos because Young began to grow the first potatoes in the hills. While combating dacoits on the outskirts of the valley, he also learned to appreciate traits of those whom he had helped vanquish. He petitioned the government that Gurkha soldiers be enlisted in the British Army. The British finally agreed to establish the 2nd Edward VII's own Gurkha rifles, or simply the Sirmur rifles. Young entered my life through my research in the Himalayas. My work has focused on the rituals in the Jaunsar Bawar region, northwest of the Doon Valley. While I was doing field work here, I came across a few references to Young having visited the shrine of the presiding deity of Jaunsar, Mahasu Devta. The Mahasu Devta temple is located at Hanol, and the deity is treated as a king, the Devta Raja, with several people in the region visiting the shrine, seeking justice and answers to life's troubling questions. In the Mahasu temples, it is the Devata's oracles, called Mali, that are possessed, enter a state of trance and pronounce judgments as the divine king's mouthpiece. People willfully accept their decisions as divine will. I tried to fish out details of Young's visits to this temple, but drew a blank. A few months later, I found myself at the British Library, London. I decided to look for the young Mahasu connection, and there they were before me, Young's journals in his own handwriting, probably being read for the first time after they were penned in 1833. Immediately upon taking over as resident of Dehradun, Young was asked to adjudicate over a dispute on the collection of land revenues between the Raja of Tihri, Sudarshan Shah, and the villagers of Ravine, the region lying between Jaunsar and Tihri. After trying to satisfy both parties for over 4 years, finally Young decided to ride his horse all the way to the Mahasu Devta temple, asking both parties to repose faith in divine judgment, if not in the courts of the East India Company. I could only imagine this 33-year-old British officer sitting in the temple courtyard on a sunny June morning, supervising over a consultation with the deity through his medium, with the Raja of Tehri's attorney and the chiefs of Ravine in attendance. As he himself says, in the entire proceedings, the king of the Doon had given way his own right to be judge to the deity, following the local custom. Today we claim to be modern rationalists. How many of our politicians, scientists and bureaucrats have the ability to comprehend alternative cosmologies? How many of us can tolerate a completely different way of looking at the world as Young did?